Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another exciting Women Run. I'm Mimi San Pedro. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at the Venture Center. And use the chat below because I'm going to be chatting with you guys. And, we would love for this to be very interactive. Anyone know about the Venture Center and have been in any of our program? Just raise your hand, put a thumbs up. If not, I'll tell you just a little bit about the Venture Center, and then we'll move to our exciting program. So the Venture Center is an entrepreneurial services organization. And what does that really mean? That means that we service small businesses and entrepreneurs and small business owners around Central Arkansas and around the state. We provide them with resources, education, collaboration when it comes to connecting them with resources and folks, and also try to work with them to elevate their business and accelerate their business. We are excited about this program. I'm super excited because I want to hear from both of the sisters and of course from our partners at the Wright Lindsey Jennings. So take it away, Wright Lindsey Jennings, and I'm introducing Meredith Lowry, a good friend of the Venture Center and our interviewer for the day. Take it away.
Thank you everyone for joining us for Women Run. If this is your first time joining us, Women Run was an initiative started, or is an initiative started by Wright Lindsey Jennings to help support women entrepreneurs or women that are thinking about starting a small business and putting together the network for women to be able to rely on each other and get tips on their businesses. So thanks for joining us. We do meet monthly, typically. Virtual for now, though we are starting to look at in-person events later in the year. And we've been a big partner with the Venture Center, which I'm so grateful for hosting us again. So our guests today are Esperanza Massana-Crane and Sara Hurst. And as Mimi said, they're sisters, but they're also amazing women and doing wonderful things for Arkansas. I'm so excited to hear from both of them. Esperanza Massana-Crane is the newly appointed director for the Minority and Women-Owned Businesses Division at the Aadc. Before being appointed as the director, she was the director of marketing for the Aadc. And she also was my roommate for our Leadership Arkansas in class 11. Sara Hurst is awesome. Oh, we were 12. That's right. Time flies. There's so many numbers in my head right now.
I won't even tell you what class I'm in. I was in.
Sara is a senior account manager. Did I get that title right? At First Orion. And she also has a side job that is not Bella's Kitchen. And then she has Bella's Kitchen, her own business that she started during the pandemic. So she's got lots of plates in the air, as one of our past speakers talked about. So it'll be fun to talk to her about all the things she's doing. We're going to start with Esperanza and the Aadc, so we can sort of get a framework of what we're talking about. What exactly does your division do, Esperanza, and what are you planning for the next year? How is your division going to help people like your sister?
Well, thank you, Meredith, and the entire team for inviting us. It is my pleasure and an honor to be here, and especially to join my sister, in this fabulous initiative. So thank you all for having both of us. I want to provide a little background of the Arkansas Economic Development Commission, because I realize a lot of people may not be fully aware of who we are and what we do. We're the leading state agency for economic development, and back in 1955, Winthrop Rockefeller at the time was the chairman of the commission. And at the time it was called the Arkansas Industrial Development Commission. 13 years prior to that, we had people in Arkansas, about 13% of Arkansans leaving the state to pursue other opportunities. And that's how that leadership came together to put together the Arkansas Industrial Development Commission in order to recruit jobs to the state. So 10 years later, that leadership team was able to recruit about 600 companies to the state, and I think 90,000 jobs, to the state. So even though our economic development strategy has changed somewhat in the course of the years, we're very proud to follow in the footsteps of what Governor Rockefeller had instituted. With that said, the mission of the Arkansas Economic Development Commission is to create economic opportunity by attracting higher paying jobs, expanding our local and state economies, increasing incomes and investment, and overall promoting positive growth. To that extent, we have a number of divisions within the agency that work to facilitate this mission. We have our business development division. We have existing business resource, a finance team, a team that manages grants, and the women and minority owned business division, which I am very honored to lead, and that I have been serving in this capacity for 2 months now. And our primary goal is to be a resource for minority, women-owned, and service-disabled veterans. And you mentioned the pandemic. So literally last year, all hands were on deck to help small businesses with the pandemic. Secretary Mike Preston had a call with all of us in early March and basically said, we're rolling up our sleeves and everybody's dropping their job title, and we're all doing everything we can to assist businesses in Arkansas, as we knew that COVID was going to have a significant impact on the economy. With that said, our leadership team met with several other economic development counterparts from different states just to better understand what practices they were implementing in their states. And we rolled several programs, one of them being a quick action bridge loan, which helped specifically small businesses. And, through the CARES Act, we managed $130 million in grants that went to our Ready for Business grant program. And through the Minority and Women-Owned Business Division, who at the time was led by Ms. Patricia Brown, they had a separate call with all these businesses and tried to guide them through the process of how to apply for the grants, because many of them had never applied for a government grant. So the division facilitated, the access to information for the grant. And we're very proud to say that as a result, 95% of the grants awarded went to businesses that had less than 50 employees. 33% were women-owned, and 25% were minority-owned. So we really, really try to target and go after the businesses that were in need. And so, we're very proud of those efforts, having said that, during the pandemic.
I muted myself. Okay, so Bella's Kitchen. I mentioned that it started during the pandemic, and you basically researched everything you needed on your own. So I want to talk about that, like what you learned starting Bella's Kitchen, because there are a lot of people that want to start things but don't know how to do it, or kind of worried about the regulations, and you just jumped right in.
Well, I wouldn't say I jumped right in, but I did have the idea about 2 years ago, maybe. So it kind of started as an idea, kept like being in my head, and I kept thinking, well, should I do this? Should I not do this? Like you said, I work in technology. I did work at Whole Foods Market when I first graduated college, and it was great experience into all that, but, I hadn't, owned a restaurant or anything like that. So, starting from scratch, it was a lot of research. We are to have organizations like the AFPTDC, that's at UALR. They were able to, see my business plan that I had already put together. So I put a business plan together, and my husband helped me do a pro forma just so I could see how much money I would lose if this was completely going to tank. So, they were able to look at it and kind of guide me. All right, so you want to do this business, like you need to go talk to this person at the Arkansas Health Department, right? Because if you ever go to the website on the Arkansas Health Department, you can't figure out what or where to start. I mean, right now I'm trying to work on a different permit, and I had to email someone. I said, can somebody help me, please? I don't know where I need to go. And they called me, and once you have somebody on the phone, they can guide you exactly where the form is. But if you go to their website right now, it's not very helpful. So I think that was helpful for me. The ASBTDC helped me with like researches and market research. Let's see what else. I talked to my accountant, and he was very helpful in trying to figure out what should it be. Should it be a sole proprietorship? Should it be an LLC? How do you apply for a sales tax and all that? But there wasn't really a way on, okay, there's this website that tells you how to go from A to C. You kind of had to figure it out on your own. Yeah.
Okay, so sticking with you, Sara, you've grown your business. And I know we've talked about some of the resources you've used. I mean, ASBTDC was a great one, but you've got some other ones that are more unique to your business. And a lot of women start businesses in your category of business. So let's talk about those other resources.
Yeah. So to start with too, back to the permit. So a lot of people think, oh, you can make food out of your house and, and then you could sell it. No, you can't. It's not legal unless you are under the cottage law. Like you can't, or you shouldn't. You could, you shouldn't. And so part of it is you have to cook out of an industrial kitchen. So, by a commercial kitchen. And, I was looking at it, I was looking at different options, and I came across Aadc Kitchen. Aadc Kitchen has about, I think it's like 2 baking stations, 3 culinary stations. It's pretty big. You can go in and, schedule your time. And there's several businesses out there that you would recognize, like Cheesecake on Point, the Croissanterie. There is Coco Bell has a space in there. So there's just different companies within there, and the owner, John, which I think has been a part of the Venture Center's talks before too. He's so knowledgeable. He used to be the head chef at the Verizon Arena, or what used to be Verizon Arena. And he was very helpful. Another thing that's very interesting with the kitchen is, you could rent a commercial kitchen out of a church and all that, but it doesn't give you the same credibility as Aadc Kitchen does. He makes you get a Serve Safe certification for managers, which is the highest level of certification to make sure that you prevent any foodborne illnesses. He makes you get a food protection insurance, so, if anybody ever gets sick from your food, you have insurance for that as well. The facility is super clean, everything is just, I couldn't ask for a better kitchen. So he's been very helpful, but then also the businesses within that kitchen, right? I was saying, Tina Lightful / Cheesecake on Point. You may not know that name, but you may have had her cheesecakes at any of the Yellow Rocket concept restaurants. She sells those cheesecakes there, but matcha is great. I mean, every time I have an idea, like I'll run it by her and I'll ask her, hey, how did you do this? How did you get your manufacturer's permit and all that? And she's been very helpful with that. I mean, just having people in the kitchen that you can talk to, that they either have been through it or are also thinking about doing similar things to what you're doing, has been very helpful to me. Let's see what else. I also like to listen to a lot of podcasts, and I've just signed up to a business class too. So I like to continue learning, just to improve the business side of it. Yep.
I love you talking about that network through the kitchen, because that's a lot like what we want with Woman Run, is to have that network of people to be able to support. And when someone's further down the line of a business, they can then chime in and say, hey, have you thought about this? So there's one question in the chat that I think I need to backtrack a little bit. Sara, can you tell us what exactly Bella's Kitchen is?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So Bella's Kitchen is a meal prep service for toddlers, kids, and families. So it started because my daughter's name is Isabella, therefore Bella's Kitchen. She needed to be introduced to foods. And when you go to the pediatrician, they really just tell you, start with applesauce and then go from there. This is a baby, like you don't get instructions for her or him. And that's kind of how it started. I started like researching and thinking about, okay, what would be the best method to feed her? I've always been, I wouldn't say obsessed, but I've always loved healthy foods. And so has my family. My husband loves to cook. So I was trying to figure out what would be the best way to introduce her to these foods. And I came across with the baby-led feeding method, which teaches them to, try different foods, and they're all solid foods. So it's not just all purees, but you could also introduce solids. So then they get used to the textures and all that. But, doing that, I realized, okay, so there's 3 meals a day and then 2 snacks that I'm making. So that's 5 meals times 7, that's 35 meals per week. Who has time for this? So I'm looking at all the stores and I can't figure out where can I buy it. So I started making it, and I had a lot of friends that were cooking and that were pregnant or having kids, and kind of came to that conclusion that there needed to be a service like it. And that's how Bella's Kitchen was born. Sorry, that was a big answer for your question.
No, it was a good answer, and we needed to go over it. Okay, so Esperanza and Jensen know how much I love my stats. So it's not going to surprise anyone on this call, I don't think, that women of color are outpacing everyone else in starting new businesses. And I mean, that's true in Arkansas. But then there's the issue with access to capital. And Jensen and I recently co-authored something that's on the Woman Run site about access to capital and things to improve it. But with Esperanza's position and trying to work through closing that gap, what potentials can you see, Esperanza, about the Aadc working on that problem?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And yes, as you know, it's not nothing hidden that, we don't have that access to capital. And one of our programs, and let me back up a little on telling the audience what our division does. So we don't work necessarily with startup businesses, but we are a resource for businesses. And so we work with different partners that can point them in the right direction, like this BTDC, the SBA, Arkansas Procurement Technical Assistance Center, and many others. 2 of our core programs, one of them is a certification program, which basically it allows a company to be certified and say, you are in fact a woman, minority owned, or service disabled veteran business owned. And the value in that is that it facilitates you for opportunities when selling to the state or to the federal government. So it's like a nice accreditation to have. On that end, we are trying to create more value to the businesses that are actually certified. So what's the value for you to be certified? Why do I have to go through all this paperwork? So some of the things we're trying to do is digitalize a lot of this and become a little more modern in that we share bidding opportunities to the businesses. We also want to provide network opportunities or training seminars through it, but just create a network in and of itself. And I think that assists that communication, enhancing that, helps them with a lot of Q&As that are so common among businesses. On the finance side, we have our loan mobilization program, which is currently on hold, but it'll eventually come back this year. And basically what it is a loan guarantee program. So we work with women, minority, or service disabled veteran owned businesses, and we provide a loan guarantee. So they work with the bank in getting a loan, and then Aadc actually guarantees up to 90% of the loan. So that's a very valuable tool on that end. Also, there is a large number of organizations that help. And we as resources to these businesses, our job is to connect them. You know, what you and Jensen wrote was fascinating, and it was very helpful. And there's reading those papers, you realize there's such a big community doing so many great things. The Conductor just recently published on Monday a resource map, which is a guide for entrepreneurs, and it lists a number of different organizations that can assist with finance. And you know, we can talk about them, but they're listed in that directory. The SBA, you have Arkansas Capital Corporation, SCORE, several others. Chambers of Commerce are listed there, and then also economic development organizations. But in terms of financial literacy, I think one of the things we want to do as Aadc is become more engaged with all of our different partners to provide solutions to the people that call us, whether it's on our database or someone that just literally picks up the phone and needs help. Something I'll point out is like my sister did such a good job in asking questions. When talking to an SBA lender, one of the things he said was ask questions. As a business owner, ask questions, because that's how we can better point you in the right direction. You know, we have also an online directory for women, minority-owned businesses on our website, and it's a great tool and a great resource if you're trying to find a business that you know, it focuses on manufacturing something or a certain service, or you know, it's a nice networking tool. But like I said, one of the things we're trying to do is to build that community and make it stronger. And I'm also proud to announce that we will be creating a position that will be focused on small business and entrepreneurship, because we realize there is a gap between business development and women and minority-owned businesses. So where do we serve that middle ground of small businesses and entrepreneurs? And so that position will be posted, I believe, this week. So if anybody's interested, or if you know of someone, please reach out to me. And so that division, that person will be working jointly, because there is a need, and we will not try to replicate what other organizations are doing, all the great things, but it will be more of a counterpart in assisting and helping on that capacity.
That's terrific news. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is one thing, like the AADC does so much, but there's a lot of businesses that, like you said, the startups aren't exactly what you're looking at. And some women, they start the business and that's when they need help. And so that will go a long way.
Yes.
So you and I have talked about this too. You're both from El Salvador, and you've both worked in building businesses, bringing businesses to Arkansas. What are some of the hurdles that you've seen, like through either starting Bella's Kitchen or just bringing businesses here, that maybe this group can work on to make Arkansas more friendly for business?
Well, you know, I think if you're asking as far as an immigration point of view, because, you know, we were both immigrants, I think it's also people being more open about, you know, hiring a diverse group of employees. That makes sense. So I went to school at UCA, and I was here under a visa, and, you know, you do 1 year after you graduate, you get an OPT, which is an optional practical training where you get a visa and you can work wherever you want. But a lot of businesses are not comfortable with it because, you know, you have 1 year, and then after that, you know, they have to decide, are they going to file a green card for you or not, you know, or are they going to file a work visa for you? So I think that was a big hurdle coming out of college, where it was trying to figure out where you could work, because not a lot of people were knowledgeable enough to know, you know, where they, you know, how it worked. And then the other thing I would say, you know, also coming from a different country, was like establishing a network, you know, not knowing anyone and just starting from scratch. So that, I think, you know, just if anybody ever asks you questions, you know, just be open-minded. And I think that's it.
Esperanza?
Yeah, I can give you the perspective as my personal perspective, and then from the business standpoint. I guess I'll start with the generic, with the business standpoint. You know, I first started working at Aadc as a project manager, and that meant working with companies in recruiting them to the state and basically selling the state to them. In that capacity, you know, we would work a project, and the goal was to have a site visit and have people come here. And so we're competing with other states. And how do we make the case of Arkansas makes sense for your business? Our workforce makes sense to you, our quality of life, you know, our economy, and mostly it makes financial sense as you're bringing a manufacturing facility. And one of the things that is it's really neat that Aadc does is that we work with communities to train them when hosting, you know, projects. In Little Rock and Northwest Arkansas, you would say, well, you know, we have a larger population, you know, but sometimes you have projects that go to smaller cities. And I remember when I first started, one of the things we did is we did a mock-up site visit, and we would go and the community would put together the whole visit, and they would, you know, they would treat us like we were the actual executives or site allocation consultants. And one of the activities was the guy leading this would get off the bus and go into a local pharmacy and say, hey, tell me a little bit about, you know, what does life look here like? And so, you know, that awareness of we're selling the state constantly, you never know who you're talking to. We have to build our communities to be open, to be friendly. And for the most part, I think, I mean, Arkansans are very friendly, but making the case to companies that we're hardworking, we are open-minded, we are, you know, we welcome businesses here. You know, we encourage diversity. I mean, I think all those things are important because that's what businesses are looking for. On the personal side, like my sister said, you know, the visa situation is a very complicated one, and we can go on and on and on and talk about that, because that is, to me, one of the biggest hurdles for immigration issues. And I know that's like a very controversial topic, but the bottom line is the process for immigration is not an easy one. So if you're a student, even if you want to come here legally, it is a nightmare. It is a headache. And you know, when you're talking to you're a 22-year-old graduate that is trying to build a life, and on top of that, you're dealing with, you know, trying to be legal and get a job. I mean, it's not easy, let alone for someone that is wanting to come and work and build a good life. So the migration process is a challenging one. But like my sister said, starting from zero is hard. I remember when I moved here to work at CJRW and we didn't have cell phones. Oh my goodness. Tell me I had to go to a building. I had to print MapQuest and find the address because I didn't know where I was. I was like, I'm in the middle of downtown Little Rock and I don't know the city. I don't know. You could tell me Magnolia. I'm like, I don't know where Magnolia is. I mean, it's learning everything from zero. You're learning a new world. So be kind to the immigrant because they're battling an extra effort, you know, or an extra learning curve. Finding your community is important. Like for us, for both my sister and I, finding a group of amazing friends has been very valuable. And they were so open and loving and kind, you know, to welcome us. So it made us feel like we were part of a family. And the last two that I would say is like, this one is very important to me, but it's be a mentor where you can. In every position that you are, whether it's on a personal level or in a working level, if you have the opportunity to help someone, by all means do it. You know, if you can help someone grow, do that, give that opportunity, you know, help others, especially people that are, you know, that are immigrants like we are. And then be open-minded. I think when we're open-minded and we open ourselves to new opportunities and new ways of thinking, it keeps our brain young. It just helps community in general, you know, but that, you know, we can go on and that topic too, but I think those are some of the factors that were very helpful for me coming here.
So it sounds like, again, network and just community. I mean, that's so important and makes business and being in Arkansas better.
And I will say this too, just from a business development standpoint, one of our biggest advantages as a state is that we're fairly close and we're fairly small. So for instance, like, even though I have never met with Mimi, but I know who she is, you know, it's like we know of someone, or you know somebody. And when like companies come here to do business, they will always say that it is so, the ease of doing business is here, because other states you have to deal with a lot of regulations, protocols. And so if we're trying to do like an air quality permit or whatever, oh yeah, let's call ADEQ, and we know we'll go straight to the person that needs to help us. And that is huge, for a business, I think. So that networking component is a huge advantage that we have here, this network. And especially now that we're building this great foundation, this a community of women, is something that is awesome. And of course, social media and virtual opportunities have helped a lot.
Yeah, it is easier in Arkansas to get connected to people.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Venture Center and other groups that are bringing in people all the time and helping connect all the cohorts for all of the fintech things and all the other things the Venture Center does. But, it's not going to surprise either one of you that Mimi has questions as well, and she keeps sending them to me. But I think they're really good questions to add. So Sara, how are you managing your full-time job at Orion, or First Orion, your side hustle, and Bella's Kitchen, and you have a baby about the size of Jensen's baby that we keep seeing pop up on the screen?
That's a good question.
Are you sleeping?
Well, when I have ideas, I can't sleep. I literally, it's like 12 and I grab my phone and I start typing everything, because every time you have a great idea, it happens to you right when you're going to bed, isn't it?
Yes.
I think I try to be organized as much as I can. I know that sounds crazy, but just having to-do lists really help me figure it out, like what I need to do. Like we talked about before, with Bella's Kitchen, I'm also trying to not do everything myself. Like, if I've hired somebody that does my newsletters, I have somebody that does my photography. There's somebody else that does the delivery. So, eventually here I'll get like a part-time cook and such, and so on, just trying to figure out what can I outsource and what can I do myself, if that makes sense. And also, my husband is very, very supportive. And that really helps, when I have to be in the kitchen, he has Isabella and I have full faith that she's fine. Obviously, that's the dad. But when I need to do anything, that's business related and all that, he never says no, which, it's very helpful to me. And he also helps me do my accounting, because I couldn't do it without him.
So the outsourcing thing comes up a lot. And this is a big question for a lot of women of what do you decide to outsource? And so what was your deciding factor of, okay, I'm not going to do the newsletter, somebody else is going to do that?
Well, I think when you realize that your time is more valuable spent in a different task, I know I can do my own newsletters, but I also know that there's somebody that can do it better, and it can save me time than, when I could be doing some business planning that I really need to do for me to look forward to the next quarter. So for me to think about how am I going to make money, I need time. And to me, things like that are worth it. Same thing with deliveries. I know that me physically going and doing deliveries is not going to make it or break it for the business, but there are certain tasks that I can't outsource, and that's what I have to think about putting my time in.
So Esperanza, Mimi also wants to know more about Elle's family and how do you motivate each other?
My sister and I?
Yes.
Oh my God, we talk like every day. And, growing up, we were not this close because I moved to study here and I was 17 and my sister and I are 8 years apart. So that gap, I was in college when she was can't remember, I can't even remember what grade she was in, I guess like 7th grade. So when she moved to school, and now, you know, that we have children and we're married, we have like become closer because we share our struggles and our joys. And, you know, we are the family here from the rest of the family that is in El Salvador and other family that is in Austin. But we talk every day. And I'll tell you, my sister was the only one that told me when I had a baby, let me warn you, the first month is the hardest one, but if you can make it through the first month, you'll be okay. You'll be good to go. And she was right, because I was like, man, those baby showers, they need to tell you the truth. You know, I don't want the fluffy elephants or whatever. Just tell me that I'm not going to sleep, that it's going to be hard. I'm going to be, you know, hangry all the time. I mean, in pain, all these things. But no, we talk every day, you know, and that involves life, work, children, everything, you know. And technology obviously helps for us to stay in touch with our family. We're so lucky and blessed to have our grandparents alive, and both of them are like parents. You know, my grandfather, my grandmother are just pillars in not only in our lives, but in the lives of, like, you know, my aunt, my mom. And my mom, you know, talk about an entrepreneurial woman. She's an electrical engineer, and, you know, she had 3 kids, and she started her business. I was 6 years old, I remember, and she worked Monday through Sunday. You know, she would come home from work, from her job, which was working with the government, and then she would take off at, you know, 5 o'clock to go and take care of the business every single day. I don't know how she did it, but you know, she's a role model for us.
Yeah, my sister failed to mention, yeah, she supported 3 of us, as she's a divorced parent, and, you know, we all went to private schools and we all went to college thanks to her. So that was good. And then another thing my sister failed to mention is that we're complete opposites, like opposites. I think if you meet us, we're like the yin and the yang, but I think that actually works now for us, because we can both look at our issues with a different lens, if that makes sense. Like if she has a problem, you know, I can tell her how I see it, and same thing for her, you know, she can help me. And, you know, and for me coming here, it was helpful to already have my sister here. You know, we're 9 years apart, and she already, you know, she knew the area, and plus it was the only place my mom would let me come. So I was like, sure, I'll go to Arkansas. You know, at the time there was barely any websites, but I was ready. So yeah.
So Esperanza, jumping back to the woman-owned certification,
Mhm.
there are some women on this call that are kind of curious about that. Do you have to have it as your full-time job, that business, or can you have your side business count as a woman-owned business?
Oh yeah, no, your side business can definitely count. There was an article that I read recently that among women, that they're more likely to be sidepreneurs. I think that's the word, which is you have a side business and you keep your full-time job. I will be happy to connect with anybody that is interested. The one requisite that I will say is you have to have been in business for 2 years. But we host certification programs. We have one coming up. We have partnered with the Arkansas Procurement Technical Assistance Center, and it'll be, you know, on a Zoom call. It will be April 8th at 1 o'clock. And so anybody that is interested in getting their business certified or to learn more about the process, you know, feel free to email me, and I'll be happy to send you the invite or more information about the program. Right. And I will say we are constantly communicating with that group. We're sending bidding opportunities. And we received, literally like last week, we received 3 bid opportunities. And so we're pushing all that to that certified group so that they can take advantage of that.
Yeah, the certification and the directory you have are useful, especially if you're looking to hire someone like Sara did to do things. Sara, how did you find your people that you've outsourced to?
Well, I think it's just, you know, like we talked about, everybody in Arkansas knows each other, knows of someone who does something. So for example, my photographer, which she happens to be one of really good photographers here in town, happened to be a suite mate that we shared an apartment in Conway when we went to UCA. We were random roommates, and here we are later, and she's a photographer. I'm like, hey, I need photography for my business, for newsletter. I worked with Beige in the past, and the person that used to be the manager, she's really good at doing newsletters. So, I approached her, and as far as like hiring for the kitchen, back to the AR kitchen, there is a group through Christy Eisen. Their name is Food Jobs Work. And they're helping by, helping adults at risk, teaching them serve safe, teaching them basic culinary skills so then they can be hired. So, looking at that pool of candidates too, and just talking to her and helping me like, okay, how much should I pay them? Because, I've never hired for a kitchen before, I want to make sure that, I'm doing a right with a pay scale, but at the same time, look at what should I be looking at, but I think it all goes back to a network like we talked about earlier.
Yeah. And in keeping with that network, if you are someone that's providing photography services or social media services or anything, you want to throw your information out into the chat, feel free.
Yeah.
I know there are people looking for people to help with their businesses. And so it's a good way to stay connected or get connected. So Sara, what's next for Bella's Kitchen?
Well, we're about to turn 1 year old, which sounds crazy because it feels like this year either was really slow, it was really fast, depending on who you ask. So we're looking at selling in stores, local stores, of course, here in Little Rock. That will be the first, and then eventually move to different cities and see which stores we can, well, one, we have the capacity for, and then two, what you can, legally transport. Because as we're talking about, this is a different permit, making sure that the food stays at right temperature, since it's not frozen meals and it's fresh meals, just a different sort of permit.
So Esperanza, what's next for the AADC and you?
Well, we actually also wanted to talk a little bit about the matchmaking program that we have. This takes place in September, and it's our signature event. And it's basically what it is. It's a matchmaking event where we pair, it's the businesses have the opportunities to sell to procurement officials from the state, and also we're going to try to this year to involve more of the private sector and create that opportunity for buyers and sellers to interact, and with the objective of getting a contract. It typically is held during Midweek, Minority Enterprise Development Week, and it's a pretty big week nationwide, but it'll take place in September. And we also have been in conversations with SBA to host another matchmaking to a smaller degree, but more federal government focused, because their fiscal year ends in September. So that doesn't work, the matchmaking. So we're going to try to do something different there. And then something else that I'm getting my feet wet and learning as much as I can. The last 2 months have been very busy, but one thing that I definitely want to do is to try to incorporate more of the Hispanic businesses into the conversation, because I think it's very important. And I realize that there are other barriers that we would deal with in terms of Hispanic businesses, but there's so much potential there. So that is one, and definitely enhance our communication and our integration of the communication with businesses, with the certified businesses and the online directory to be a better resource and provide opportunities to all, to businesses.
So if someone on the call was interested in participating in the matchmaking, what's the best way to follow to learn more?
So if you would like to email me, that would be the best way. My email is emassana, MASSANA @Arkansas EDC.com. But go to our website and you can find under the Women Minority Owned Business Division my contact information, my cell phone, and my you'll find direct phone numbers for everybody at AADC. And that's something that I will say, I definitely want to give a shout out to all my colleagues, because if you know someone that works at Aadc, they're people that have a really good heart. And at the end of the day, we all are doing economic development, trying to improve lives. But all of our contact information is on the website, so you can reach me there.
Are you doing the matchmaking in Central Arkansas only, or are you thinking of doing it?
No, so that's the conversation that we have to have, because we cover the entire state. So we're thinking it's going to be in person, but we're going to try to bring a virtual component for other areas, which our matchmaking last year was fully virtual. Well, obviously because of COVID.
I'm angling. Are you coming up here so we can have dinner?
Yeah.
But
More to come. Yeah.
okay, so feel free to keep asking questions. Another one from Mimi. What's your tell us about your personal journey through business?
Mike?
I think it was for both of you.
You go first, sister.
My personal journey, as in how I landed in business.
Oh, it was pretty open-ended. Yeah, we'll go with that one.
Well, I guess I'm going to start by saying that I came to Harding University with a scholarship, and I really didn't know what to major in, to be very honest with you. But I landed in the College of Business, and talk about mentors. I had great professors that are that I still keep in touch with. And I mean, Harding was a really good school. Made really good friends. And from there, after graduation, I went home and I started working. My first job was 9 West, the stores in Central America. So the guy that I worked for owned the franchises for Guatemala, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras. And my job was literally to take care of all those stores. My boss was the one in charge of everything, but I assisted her. So I helped her with that. And it was a really fun job. It was very stressful too, but it would be everything from purchasing the product to working with customs to making sure that it got to the stores, distribution, pricing. Oh, the light went off in this store. We need to, get it repaired. But it gave me opportunity to travel. And so after that, I came back here to do my master's. And I actually participated in the Governor's Cup competition when I was doing my master's. And that's how my plan ended up in the hands of David Martin, who was at the time the CEO of CJRW. And he reached out and said, hey, you want to talk about coming to work at CJRW? And, I was 25. I was like, yeah, so I started, that's kind of how I started working at CJRW. I was there for 7 years. And then again, networking through the Centers for Youth and Families. My sister and I were both in the Young Professionals group. My friend Ben France was there. He was a project manager at Aadc. He's like, hey, there's a job at Aadc. You want to participate? You want to apply? And I said, yes. Well, what I want to tell you is coming to work for Aadc opened my eyes to the world of economic development that I absolutely love. It's such a beautiful work because you are helping others without, you don't see it, but you're helping change lives. And so you have an impact on people. And it's a beautiful thing. And I've been here for 7 years, almost 8. That may have been a little long to tell you, but yeah, that's kind of my journey.
Well, okay, I guess mine. So my sister was here, as she told you. She went to Harding. When I was deciding colleges, initially I wanted to go to Germany. My sister and I went to a German speaking school in El Salvador, which sounds weird, but somehow it works. But my mom said, no, it was too far. If you're leaving El Salvador, you're going to Arkansas where your sister is. And my sister said, I think that you wouldn't enjoy going to Harding, but you would love going to UCA. I think you're a very candidate for that. So yeah, so I went to UCA and I loved it. And actually Miss Mathilda Hatfield is in this call, and she was the first person that ever gave me a job at UCA. I would call UCA alumni and tell them, tell them what a great job all their donations were doing in the campus and about my experience and all that. And I honestly, I love that because it was, I don't know, I love UCA, so it was great. And then after I graduated, my sister sent me, I was looking for a job, and she sent me this job for Whole Foods, and I had never been to a Whole Foods before, and I just ignored it. And then somebody else sent it to me. I had like 3 emails from it. I'm like, fine, I'll go check it out. And then I went and I fell in love with the store, and I became marketing coordinator, and I was there for, gosh, I think like 4 years maybe. I've always loved cooking. I've always loved food. So it seemed like a really great match. But again, you know, back to the visa situation, you know, so that was complicated and all that. But after I finished my work at Whole Foods, I started working at Martin Wilburn Partners. Again, it was with David Martin, who was the CEO at CGRW when he hired my sister. So I knew him because I had also done an internship at CGRW. So I worked there for almost 4 years as well. And as a side job, I was working at Beige, which is a boutique here in Little Rock. And I met Charles Morgan one night there, and we were talking about First Orion and his new business and all this. And then he said, "You want to work for me?" You know, and knowing who he was, what he built, I was like, I would love to work for you, you know, but I didn't think it was more than that. And then the next day, First Orion called me and said, "Hey, we have an interview set up for you. Can you come today?" And I did, and I've been working there since. And I love First Orion. It's such a great company. I truly, it's diverse. It's awesome. We have a new building that's beautiful. But then, you know, when I had Isabella, that idea of starting a business came to my head, and I just could not sleep. And finally decided to, you know, create Bella's Kitchen. And that's what I've been doing, like my sister said, as sidepreneur. But yeah. I think that was my journey. I think that was long too, but.
And
Again,
Meredith,
it comes back to Esperanza's like keeping an open mind. I mean,
yeah, and I want to point out on the journey portion of it that, you know, life is not perfect and life is not easy. And there have been many times where both my sister and I mean, I may have called her crying because, you know, work was difficult or this or that. And I think just keep pushing and keep working and keep doing the best that you can is, in my opinion, one of the best advice I can give, because it's not easy. When I look back at things and I'm like, man, there were some rough times, you know, work-wise, but it's funny how life has a way, and for me, it's God has a way of lining up things and lining up your passions with your with your opportunities and kind of bringing you into discovering things that you love to do. And, you know, it just be patient and keep working hard is what I would say.
so I think we have one more question, or time for one more question. And I'm thankful to my partner, Judy, for asking this, because I wanted to know this question answer too, but I hadn't actually added it into my own questions. But so with everything going on in the legislature right now, with some of the fun bills that are being considered to restrict AADC or targeting certain groups, how's that affecting the ability to attract new business to Arkansas?
Well, you know, that's a very generic question that may be completely out of my realm, but I can tell you that on from my division's perspective, one of the things that we're trying to do is engage our legislators and work. You know, I'm actually working to schedule a meeting to work with the Black Caucus on what we do, because I think it's very important to engage the legislature. And I'll come back to this for everything. Education is a big component of success, and being able to educate and work hand in hand with the legislature is very important, because the perception of what we do is one thing for the public and for the legislature as well. But it's not until you are here and in the shoes of the people working that you realize this is why we need you know, to do X, Y, or Z. And so I think to the extent that we can have open communication and more education, that alleviates a lot of the not problems necessarily, but potential misunderstandings, you know. But like I said, on our end, one of the things we're trying to do is definitely engage them more and work with them too, because we need their help to get our work done.
Yes, and hopefully they will listen to you. So
Well, we have a long ways, in my opinion, and it's totally side note, but education is critical. I mean, that's something that I feel that if we work to really try to be more educated in terms of in everything, you know, that's, and talk about open mind and keeping an open mind, education helps with that, to better understand why people think the way they do, and try to stay away from being closed-minded. Doesn't take us anywhere.
So this going towards education, I want to thank our host, the Venture Center, who puts on so many educational programs for people
Yes.
in business. And I want to thank both of y'all for joining us and giving us your wisdom and telling us everything that's going on in your worlds. So we'll be mindful of everyone's time. And so we're right up against 1 o'clock. So thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you all.
Mimi, I'll turn it over to you too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So interesting, so inspiring. And we have a lot of programs at the Venture Center, like Meredith says. We'll put a link down below. And I love what Esperanza said about about mentorship. That's really important. And we have a mentorship program. Contact us. You know, if you are interested in a mentor or being a mentor or mentee. But thank you so much, everyone. This has been great. Yay. We have a lot of program that is sponsored by Wright Lindsey Jennings. But anyway, so we have a survey. We've got all kinds of things going on. But thank you for being here, and have a great day. And we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Bye-bye.